Hello.
Oh shit.
Oh, there it goes.
Hello. Ah, fucking hell.
So we did our Divinity 2 Original Sin review, and in there we started talking about like Dragon's Dogma came up, and you mentioned that like you could just if you ever want to just shit here's you shit on something, you can just shit on Dragon's Dogma. And it's a game we've both played. I've played
hmm
little of it. I gave up very quickly. You've played more than me, and you also are like, fuck this game. So I figured let's
Yes.
just make that dream come a reality. Let's just have you destroy this game verbally on video. So,
Oh, I'd love to.
all
This
right.
game, this game is it's one of those games that you get it and you're like, this is gonna be so cool. It's got all those vibes of like, it's got a little bit, a little tiny bit of that Dragon Age Origins vibe to it.
Yeah.
A little bit more leaning towards Dragon Age 2 with the way it functions. But it was like that was what drew me to it. I had just started playing all those Dragon Age games. My friend Joe was like, "You got to play these." He got me really into them, and then I beat them, and I was like, "Oh well, there's only two because I don't think Inquisition was out yet,
Yeah.
or maybe it was." And then so I might have played that one, but then I was like, I need another game like this in the genre. And so I looked it up. I read all the reviews. I'm sure some people who are watching this maybe have written a review for it, and I'd like to tell you, fuck you. That was a lie. That review was a fucking lie. If
If it
you
was
gave it
positive.
more than 1 star, then that was a lie.
Yeah.
And okay, everybody's got their opinion. I understand, but no, this game is a legitimate piece of garbage. I mean,
We'll get
let's start at
into
the
it.
very beginning.
Let's I'm
Let's
going to play the trailer just so
okay,
like people
yeah,
who I mean
just so you
just people
can be
should
lied to.
just so you, yeah, just so you can see what they're pitching you and also just see how it looks and get a
Yeah,
vibe for what we're talking about. And then
it looks cool.
yeah, it looks cool, but then we'll get into it. So here we go with the trailer.
The decision is yours, Arisen. For the price of a single life, I shall leave this land in peace. Now, choose.
All right, so there we go, short and sweet. All right, based on that, like you said, the game looks cool. It has a cool, very Dark Soulsy vibe. The
Mm-hmm.
aesthetic and like the atmosphere of it and the world design is very Dark Soulsy. Um, and the combat looks fun, looks very action
Yeah,
packed, and yeah, there's everything you really all the boxes that you'd be wanting out of a fantasy RPG, like monsters to fight, character progression. It's all there. But I'm gonna let you go ahead and just dive right in. Why is this a lie, and why does this game fucking suck?
okay, I can tell you exactly why. So at the start of the game, there's this prologue that you have to go through. And let me tell you, that game sold me as hard as it sold some people. Like I was fully in. I wanted to play this game all the way through. I started the game. You don't customize your character right away. You play this pre-made group essentially
Yeah,
that you have to beat this prologue, and there's like a chimera at the end that you have to fight. All right. In that, like every video game in a prologue is supposed to explain to you all the mechanics of the game. And it just fucking doesn't. I think I died in that prologue like 4 times because there were things that would happen that would just end that fight for you right away.
yeah.
What? At the beginning of the game, in the learning phase, they were like, ah, fuck you. Right away. Right away.
Can you
That
go
game
into a
didn't like
little
you.
on that point? Can you go into a little more detail as to how it's because Sky or not Skyrim, Dark Souls and all of those games can be kind of the same way. Anyone who picks up a
Sure.
Souls game for the first time, it's also similar. It just throws you right in. Why is it work? Can you like talk about like why does it work
Yeah,
in
I
Souls
can.
games and why it doesn't work in Dragon's Dogma?
Sure. So in Souls games, that's a great way to start this. Souls games, they do the pretty much exact same thing. but they do it in such a way where the mechanics still feel crisp. Like you still feel like everything that you can do with the buttons, rolling, swinging, it all sort of makes sense with that
It's
kind of game.
intuitive.
Yeah, and it's also very deliberate. Like if a swing is coming at you and you roll, if you time it right, you'll roll right through it. So there were mechanics in that game that made it so that having that premise, we're not going to explain everything to you or handhold you, but here are the 5 mechanics of the game. These are the only ones in the whole game. Reapply those to every scenario you run into. You can master those kind of games because it's really the mechanics are all you're supposed to master. And then you just sort of apply them. Dragon's Dogma was like, we want to do that, but we don't want to make the mechanics feel crisp. We want to make them feel clunky and sluggish
Robotic.
and terrible.
Yeah.
Yes. We want to make dodging not very good. We want to make mechanics cheap and quick because we want to make this game last longer than it should.
Okay.
So the way we're going to do that is arbitrarily add one-shot mechanics. We're going to add things to this game that you can't predict, that don't apply to the controls that you've learned. These are things that are going to just crop up and you're going to be expected to add them now to your repertoire of skills, which is something that I know a lot of people hate and I hate. It's not a fun mechanic in any game. It's just to toss in an insta-death mechanic with a new mechanic to break that. It's just not fun. It's not World of Warcraft. That's where you throw that in. It's World of Warcraft. That's fine, but not in a single player RPG.
Yeah.
That's stupid. I have an example of that. There's a snake, and this is the second boss in the game. It's a bunch of snakes.
Yeah, the
I guess hydras.
Yeah.
That fight, you can die instantaneously 50 different ways. You can die from the boulders that he throws. You can get eaten alive.
Yeah, the eating one. So it's like I couldn't figure that out, and it gave you no idea. If he swallows you, it's got like almost like you see you and you're in the snake's like mouth and you see you travel down, but you're not dead until you get to like his stomach or his body. But at the same time, I was like, okay, is there like a button mash thing I should be doing right now to cut my way out? Am I like, I don't even remember. Can you take control of your pawns, your other members? So it's like, how do I get out? Or is this just a slow death that I have to watch? Because it tricks you into kind of thinking that there's a way out, but there's not.
I would be willing to bet that there is, but that is furthering my point. Like, what the fuck why is that fun? How is that a mechanic? And before people, decide, hey, you guys are just bad at the game. Yes, absolutely. I was bad at the game, but that was not my fault. I'm really, really good at games. So is Andy. So we're really good at games. We're not stupid either. Like, we pressed all of the things and combinations of things
we
to
did
escape.
What we'd been told to do up to that
point.
And none of
it
had
everything.
Any effect.
Nothing. So, can you imagine that? A boss fight where a mechanic occurs. And by the way, this mechanic is the definition of random. Like, you could fight one of the heads and do just fine.
And it'll never swallow you.
And never swallow you. But then you get to the third head and it swallows you. That was an hour of your life gone. And you have to repeat that quest. Because if it eats you and you die, you respawn up the trail outside of the village. And you still have to go through all the dialogue and the fight again.
Yeah.
So holy shit, that was the main fight that made me say, fuck this game. But even then, I played it for another like 20 hours.
So it was see if I have this right. So it's like, and I played the fight you're talking about. It seemed to me, it was, now that you mention it, you bring it up, I haven't thought about it in a while, but it's like with a game like Dark Souls where it's difficult from the get-go and they don't give you much hand holding, it's still like, it's very intuitive. So you quickly figure out, okay, like, attack, block, dodge, roll, all that stuff.
Right.
And then the bosses you fight against, none of them just have a totally random fuck you move. If you lose, are there one shots in Dark Souls and stuff? Absolutely. But it's because you failed the dodge or you failed the block, or it's not just because the code and the computer code of this game just randomly landed on the insta kill and fuck you this time. You know what I mean?
There's none of that in any of the Souls games.
No,
which is great.
It's on you, and that's what makes you willing to forgive the game more, because you know that like it's fair. You're like, okay, yeah, I lost, but I know why I fucked up. Like
some of us even love that.
Yeah,
we sort of love because I fancy myself. This is something I love about Dark Souls. I think of myself as a really good game player. I hate the word gamer because that just is like the stupidest term. But I like playing games.
Does that apply to card games?
Thank you. Like,
Monopoly,
does that apply to
Uno.
street racing? That's a
Yeah,
game anyway.
yeah.
So,
Baseball, like,
yeah, all
like,
these games. So
yeah.
yeah, no,
My
I'm a
gamer,
person
yeah,
who plays video games.
yeah.
But like, I liked that because it was an ego check. Joe and I both needed to get ego checked a lot playing Dark Souls. Like for real,
Yeah.
we would go so hardcore. Like we were playing a sorcerer and we didn't put any new gear on him or give him any extra soul spears or soul arrows. He had 30 for the base game, all the way up to what fucking boss did we get to? I think it was the Moonlight Butterfly, and we
Yeah,
died to the Moonlight Butterfly. We needed that ego
which
check.
is an easy
We
boss.
It's an easy ass boss, but we
Yeah.
only had 30 soul arrows, and when we ran out of them, we had to kill it with a dagger, and we
Yeah.
fucking couldn't. So that was the end of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that game will ego check you, but that was because of us. If we played it the right way, it would have been an easy ass boss.
Yeah.
But Dragon's Dogma is just not that way.
Downright unfair sometimes.
It's
Like,
straight up unfair. There was a boss. Here's another thing. Okay, here's another thing. The enemies in the overworld are varying levels, which is a Japanese game thing, and I understood that when I started playing it.
just
So
for the
you had to
sake, like, so
avoid.
I'm on the same page. When you mean varying levels, that mean like you can randomly run it? Are you saying like you can randomly run into stuff that's like way too strong for you to be fighting right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but like the thing was, it was like all the time.
Yeah.
You would run into something, and it would be like you'd be level 20, and it'd be level 64, and you'd be like, "Why is this on the path to the city? Like this is the path
I think I can
that
give a good
leads to the
example.
city."
And I don't have many of them because I gave up on the game pretty early. But like the first little like town village you're in after you the snake fight,
Yeah.
the Hydra fight, one of the quests is like we've been detecting some mysterious sounds coming from the sewer. And I went to
I
the
know that quest.
sewer, and you come to this like the path leads you to this like opening, and it's like it's off of an edge, and down below you can see this like underground little like creek or tiny stream, and down there is a whole bunch of these like reptilian crocodile soldiers,
Yeah.
and there's no other way down there. So I was just like, okay, that's the cause of the shit, I guess I gotta go fight them. And I would just die
Yep.
like there was no way to, my pawns would die. I had a full party, 3 pawns plus me. We would just die, or my lantern would run out of oil and or whatever, or get put out because I'd walk in the
Yep.
water, and then it would be dark, and I'd be sitting there trying to go into my inventory and get my lantern back out so I could see what the hell's going on. But then while I'm doing that, they're still just attacking me, and these things were strong. Like I could maybe kill one, and then I'd get killed by all the rest. And I talked to someone in who played this, and they were like, when you're up on that ledge, you're not supposed to jump down, you should be shooting them with arrows from up there. And I'm like, okay, but what if I didn't play the archer build? You know what I mean? Like,
Yep. That's my point. Like that's another point.
This is early in the game,
Yeah.
and I know later on there are some hybridization that happens between classes, but it's like I'm very early in the game, I'm just a warrior, sword and shield. Yeah, one of my pawns is an archer, but I can't take control of him. It's not like Dragon Age like that. It's so
Right.
there's no way for me to tell him to start shooting them. And half the time my pawns would just jump down there on their own.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm just up here like,
Because they were terrible. They had a terrible AI. That was another thing I hated about that game.
yeah, let's talk about the pawn system. I wasn't feeling it at all.
It wasn't good. It didn't make any sense. It didn't. You couldn't assemble a party in such a way that you felt like it was a party. It was like someone had slapped 4 people with you, right? You like a total of 4, but 3 people with you, and you were just like, "These are my people.
And it
These are
seemed
who
to
I
me
have."
like, and they were almost trying to add another layer of role playing to the game, in that like you could level up your pawns
Yeah.
and you could make them better, and then you could put them, what's that like nether realm that all the pawns go when they're not being used?
That I genuinely don't remember.
I don't remember the name of it, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
The little storage thing.
if you were playing online, connected to the internet, people could take their pawn builds and they could
Right.
share them in that area, and you could take them and try them out with your guy. And so that was trying to add this new role-playing dynamic of where like you can try out different builds other than your main character and share them with other people. But I didn't give a shit. I just didn't give a shit. I was like, these
It didn't fit in the
pawns.
game.
Yeah.
It was a side mechanic that in theory is cool, but in practice is not. Like, apply the exact same line of thinking to Dragon Age. Let's say that we took Dragon Age Origins and we applied that same line of thinking. Leliana and Alistair and Morrigan are the first people you get. You can count Sten, but no one ever picks Sten. I let him die in the cage almost every time. Yeah, people can get mad at me for that. Whatever, fuck you. You know you do it too. So Sten sucks. So Leliana is an archer and a bard. She starts off like that. So you know from the get-go she's gonna have a buff. Great. And she's an archer. Boom. Then you got Morrigan, who's a shapeshifter and a spellcaster. You can give her heal if you feel like it, but she does a bunch of magic damage. And then you got Alistair, who's like a shitty tank. You know, he's a Templar, so he doesn't have any defensives, but you can give him a shield and he wears mail armor, so whatever.
Yeah.
Imagine you get there, and those people you pick up, they don't really have a class or a thing that they do. It's just that Alistair wears mail
base,
armor.
Undeveloped class.
Yeah.
And it also
Leliana's leather, Morrigan's cloth, but they don't have any useful abilities. You got to decide, what am I doing with these people? Right now, I have to stop the game dead in its tracks and break down this group I'm going to pick. And I also don't have all the foreknowledge of the game to make any sort of informed decision on what I should be making.
Yeah.
So should I be picking that base healer DPS tank build and that will work? Or is this the kind of game where if I pick a healer, I've just gimped the shit out of myself because we won't do any damage now?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I have no idea.
It also is like,
I hate that.
With a game like where you have your main character that you make, and then there's also a party, like party members. It helps, like with Dragon Age, there's a story that introduces you to these, because they are characters. They're not just nameless pawns. You know, they're characters. So you get a little bit of story interaction with them prior to putting them into your party, and that story action alone tells you their whole shtick. It's like, oh, Templar, tank. Okay, oh, she's magic. Okay, got it.
Right.
The pawn thing is just like, here
a witch.
Here are these faceless, nameless characters that fuck it. They don't add any role playing shit to the story. They're not real characters. You're not going to have meaningful interactions with them. Like, there's some shit in Dragon Age you can do with some of those characters, like, that impacts the story and changes how your game will turn out. These are just faceless pawns. They're nameless, faceless they're literally called pawns. And like, yeah, they don't matter. And I just could not give less of a shit about the pawns. It would have been better as just a single player, just me. Like, I'm just me running through the world doing shit. And like we talked about with Divinity, in that regard, with it being just me, well, if you're gonna do the whole party system, you got to do it the way Divinity and Dragon Age do. Like, they themselves are characters, and they have meaningful interactions with you, and they affect the environment in the game. They can't just be faceless, nameless things. And if you're not going to do that, then like I said, just do a single player game where it's just you running the game. And if you're going to do that, you got to take the fucking class restriction mechanics off of it and just make it a fucking, I can become the God Emperor of the planet. Like, I got fucking magic and swords and heavy armor. I've got everything, you know? You know, like that would have been better to me. If I'd have showed up on that cliff overlooking those like reptilian creatures, and I'd have had a bow, arrows, a sword, magic, I'd had all the shit, I'd have fucking been like, all right, let's.
If you're going to make a game like that where you have different requirements than the classes that you've provided can ever have, then you've already made it a game where there are going to be a lot of moments where the player just goes, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what the fuck? I have a great example of that one. You walk into this big open arena thing. Maybe people will know this one. It's got like sandstone colored columns, and it's got like a dirt floor. It's full of enemies. And up on the ridges are enemies shooting magic at you in like ballistas. And I walked in there and died instantaneously. That place was like 10 levels below me. Like, I had gotten instantaneously. I walked into a bubble and just killed me. So like, my dude was way over level for that. I made sure he was by going around the overworld and just killing anything I could that was relatively my level, and doing like, I think 2 side quests that I got from the city. And so I had to go to this place, and this was the main story. You got to go here. I don't even remember what I was trying to do there because I could never fucking do it. I couldn't get. I watched a video later of how you do this, and it was the stupidest thing I ever saw in my life. You just had to like run and hope that RNG just didn't fuck you. Yeah. The guy even said, he was like, yeah, I hope I don't get hit by anything. Like, what the fuck, dude? Why is that a mechanic in this game? That's randomly put. That's the thing. Everything about that game.
Is a thing in this game. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything about that game, when you reach a new mechanic, is like somebody just grabbed a thing twice the size of what it should be and tried to shove it into the game, make it fit. And you were just like, why did you do this? Yeah. Like, there were plenty of things in Dark Souls that did that. Sen's Fortress has balls that just roll through the fortress, and if you don't know about them,
You're gonna get whacked.
have
Yeah.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're gonna fuck you up, but
But
they
then you
also
come
won't
back
instantly
and
kill you.
yeah, maybe not. Yeah.
They just fuck you up. They do like a quarter of your health. They don't even do that much damage. They use a quarter of your health and they fuck you up and they knock you back a bunch and they
Yeah.
make you get hit again unless you roll away.
It's
So there
not
is a way out.
Yeah, it's not an instant death. It's just adding difficulty because now you have to
Yeah.
like, do I proceed with lower health or do I use a fucking heal and waste that? Who knows when the next bonfire is?
Now I'm gonna stop in doorways and wait a second.
Dragon's
Okay,
Dogma
I'll
is
go.
straight up just like, hey, walk into this room. Maybe you'll live,
Yeah.
maybe you won't. That's our idea of difficulty. Like, just
That is a
completely
term.
random instant murder. Maybe you have a chance, maybe you have no chance. Who
Yeah.
knows? It's all in code.
There is a term for that where it's like I forgot what it was. It's when you shit, I don't remember. But it's when that happens basically. There's a term. Oh, I remember it. Artificial difficulty. Artificial difficulty is the best example of artificial difficulty is World of Warcraft. I'll tell you that. And here's what that means. Basically, the game cannot be made any harder because it would ruin the game. Like you can't just suddenly make enemies take longer to kill. People will be very angry at you. So
Right.
how do you make the game harder? Well, you actually just do that because fuck the players. They don't know what they want. You give them that, they would like that. If they say the game's too easy and you make the mobs harder and then they get mad at you for 5 minutes, they'll be happy on the 6th minute. They'll go, oh, the game is still the same, but it's harder. It's what I asked for.
Yeah.
Or if you don't want to make the enemies take more time to kill, just make their abilities do more damage. Make the player use their brain more to beat it. But most games will just be like, oh man, this is these enemies are too easy to kill. I know what we'll do. You can only kill 10 of them today. And then the 11th one doesn't count. Oh, what? Like, yeah, we've artificially made this harder. You have to come here tomorrow and do 10 more, and then the next day and do 10 more. Dragon's Dogma was like, we could take that same principle, but we could do one-shot mechanics instead of time-gated mechanics.
Yeah.
You know, you walk into this room, maybe there's a petrify trap that instantly kills you, or maybe your whole party got killed behind you and you just didn't fucking know because they stepped on a flame trap or a chimera came out of nowhere. You know, like you just there was no way to be a prepared adventurer, and therefore I never felt like I was becoming more of a badass playing that game.
It was.
I felt like I was a well-geared idiot. Yeah.
The game is. It's not like Dark Souls and all the Souls games from Software games. They've been criticized as like difficult but fair. This is just not fair.
Yeah.
And honestly,
anybody that says Dark Souls isn't fair,
it's fair.
It's wrong. It is fair. There's some of the bosses
make your
so
peace
easy.
with that and then determine whether or not you still like it. But
yeah, and it's fine to not like it.
Yeah, it is. But with Dragon's Dogma, it's not fair. And for a game like that, and then also it was not. I mean, this thing came out. You got to remember, this came out on like PS3, Xbox. Well, same as Skyrim. Like it's just graphically how the game ran. Like that trailer looked good, but that was a trailer for the Dark Arisen, like the enhanced remastered edition.
Right.
Like it's like. You look at a game like Skyrim, which at the time when it came out, we were like, man, this shit looks beautiful. Like the fucking water and all the environments and everything. And you have Dragon's Dogma and shit's just like still blocky, and your movements are still very like PlayStation. Your sword strokes are still very like PlayStation 2 Devil May Cry, like yeah.
It was so bad. It was so bad. That's another thing. This is a game that when you read the reviews for it, people talk up endlessly. This game is awesome. I love this game. Oh, I've never played a game this good before. Who the fuck are these people, man? Who the fuck are these people? That game, it's the biggest propaganda for a game I've ever seen. Yeah. It's genuinely not a fun game. Genuinely, it is not a fun game. Maybe if you really like that weird sort of challenge of just trying to figure out
unfair.
RNG. Yeah. Unfair. Maybe if you like unfair games, then those reviews will make sense. But they just don't to me. That game, the whole purpose of it seems to make you want to punch a hole through your monitor. Like that is the purpose of that game. It's a game created by TLC so that you'll buy more TVs is what I feel like, or buy more controllers so you break them, because that's what it made me feel like doing.
Yeah.
And this all comes basically from the first boss in the game who is in the prologue.
Yeah.
Do you know how many new characters I made? And I would go through that prologue just fine, beat that dude just fine. And then I'd make a new character and I would get one-shotted. And I'd be like, I did it the same. I did it the fucking same as I've done it every time I've done this.
Yeah.
And I died. Why? And I
Yeah.
just never had a good explanation.
Yeah.
If you look up reasons why, people would be like, oh, you're just bad at the game. Like, sure, I probably am. But also, like, fuck you. Because the game is bad.
It's not
at
fair.
the game.
Yeah, it is an unfair. Yeah. I think in part of the maybe the false propaganda, and in this sense it's not false, is like, so it's one of the few, I don't know, how do I describe it? Like, the Switch is known for having, it's got a pretty vast game library, but it's a lot of like really retro styled games, 2D side scrollers, the
Yeah.
Mario shit, the Animal Crossing shit like that. When it comes to like full blown fucking games, they tend to be a little, there's a good number, but then it's getting better. But I think this one, Dragon's Dogma, got a little bit of hype when it came out on Switch, because it was kind of like, oh shit, we have another like real fucking, you know what I'm trying to say, like a full
Yeah.
real RPG.
Yeah.
It was
Like
considered,
Skyrim or The Witcher.
Dragon's Dogma was supposed to be like a AAA title on PS3 and 360 when it came out. So it's kind of like, oh, we got another like AAA RPG on the Switch, and I think that, you know, maybe revitalized a lot of people wanting to try and play it, which caused some more hype to jump up. They're like, oh, you know, this isn't bad. It's not bad when you don't have a lot on the Switch, but like, I don't know, man.
It is bad. And the story doesn't make sense.
I challenge them to put Dragon Age Origins on the Switch and tell me that like it's not fucking better. You know,
in
it's
every
like
possible way.
Fuck Dragon's Dogma. Like, if you had Dragon Age Origins on the Switch, I mean, I'm already never touching Dragon's Dogma, but if there was Dragon Age Origins on the Switch, I'd be like, obvious solution, right? Yeah, obvious replacement.
I would buy it that day.
Yeah.
I would buy that day. That's such a good game.
Yeah.
That game and Dragon's Dogma are shockingly similar in the way that they were meant to be executed. And it feels like Dragon Age came out first and Dragon's Dogma was like, well, we have to change everything or we'll just be Dragon Age Origins.
Is that not some annoying shit? It's like sometimes when people don't just want to copy a successful formula because they just want to be different. And it's just kind of like, okay, I get it, but like, what if being different leads you to being bad?
They don't know what different means. I can give them a great example. Anybody making a video game right now, I can show you a perfect example of what different is. Let's take Age of Empires 3 and Rome Total War. Okay. Virtually the same. In principle, you're building up a sort of empire. You have people who are doing certain things. You're micromanaging all those little things. You know, you'll get into conflicts and you'll have an army that will go fight those conflicts. Virtually the same. But, you know, Age of Empires 3, you'll have physical little dudes on the map and you just sort of walk them over and they go, ah, and then you win or you lose. But Rome Total War did something different where they made full-scale battles.
Real time.
Of those little guys. Real time, you control them, you place them. There's line breaking. There are troops that are better at fighting certain troops than other troops.
I don't know how
and they really matter.
Franchise is not like the king of, well, I feel like it does. I feel like it doesn't get included in the RTS genre simply because a good portion of the game is not RTS. It's the turn-based empire building, but the combat is all RTS, not in this traditional.
If you consider Civilization to be an RTS, then you have to consider those to be the Total Wars, because those are so similar.
Dude, I'm wondering when they're just gonna like give fucking Activision the middle finger and just make Total War Modern Warfare. Like,
I've heard people make up these reasons why they couldn't do that. They're like, no, we couldn't do that because you can't have big battles with lots of guns. And I'm like, yeah, clearly you can't have big battles with lots of guns. There are no records of those ever happening on the planet Earth. Thankfully, we've never done anything like that. Oh, wait, we've done that a lot and every day, and we're doing it right now. That's like stuff that happened.
I mean, we're getting a little away from Dragon's Dogma here, but I don't care. It would get a little complicated because, like, I can already tell that one of the big the two I play the most are Rome Total War and Total War Napoleon. And I can already tell you right now that the big difference between them, just in the time periods that they take place, is with Rome Total War, at a certain point in the battle, it does not fucking matter anymore if you just mesh your units together.
The mass.
At the very least, it's like keep cavalry and infantry somewhat separate. But other than that, it's like at a certain point in the battle, it's just like fucking charge. But
Yeah, send them all in.
with Total War Napoleon, and the fact that like at certain moments in the battle, it's better for your unit to be firing as a unit as opposed to just melee fighting. You want to keep your
Right.
units pretty separate. That way, if like let's say I've had instances where I send one of my units, the enemy's charging, right? They've said fuck shooting, we're gonna charge. I click the melee only button and I tell that unit to charge them as well. So they fight melee. They kill them all. And now there's this other unit coming in on another one of my units from over here. This one just got done melee fighting. It's still separate from all the rest, so I could click him, go back to firing, just turn them, and they can start shooting.
Right.
But if you mesh them all together, then it's really hard to split them up when you want individual units to fire, because you don't need 6,000 troops firing at once. You need 80
But we
firing
did
at
have
once.
that.
Well,
Let me put it like this.
not in a unit, you know what I mean? Like
You're right, not in a unit. But if you had the same principle of controlling multiple units, the games that we're talking about now would just become. This is why I probably wouldn't really play very much of those. They would be really cool for a little while,
Which
but I would
ones?
miss the Modern Warfare ones. I'd probably play like the whole
Oh.
campaign once. But I would really prefer the melee, the setup for combat, because those are just more intense. Like think about fighting with guns. It would be more of a tactical game. Like where do
It
I
is.
position my guys? And then you'd be more worried about your armor and your artillery. Like that would be your bigger concerns.
If you weren't
And
fighting
so
a
it'd be
siege
different.
on a city or an urban
Right.
environment, you really wouldn't want infantry troops. You would want tanks and Humvees
Yeah.
and shit. And
You just have the infantry to defend your positions. Like you'd have a couple of heavy weapons teams just supporting crossing fire in case anybody tries to come up to your mortar teams.
Yeah.
And then you'd have tanks that you would just be sending down the hill essentially to just mow down anybody that tries to come at you.
Also, like with
that'd be
modern urban warfare, it's, don't get me wrong, I've never been in it. I'm pretty sure it's pretty intense. But like from a distance, it's literally just like units of fucking soldiers, infantry, and they go in and they just house by house, building by building, structure by structure, they just clear it. And if they find enemies in there, they get into a gunfight. Then they come back out and move to the next one. And it's like that would be a boring game. Just like, okay, you select your unit, select the house for them to search. Okay, it was empty. Select the next house for them to search. Yeah, like select. There were some people in there. You shot them and killed them. Select the next house. Like, yeah, like
that would be a lot like Warhammer Dawn of War 2, which was a squad.
Yeah.
And you essentially did that. You went through a town and had to fight X checkpoint and then move on.
Yeah.
That would be basically just be Modern Warfare 2, Dawn of War 3. Like,
Yeah, it would be kind of boring, and since it's a game and not real life, I would be very quickly very tempted to be like, yo, I got enough money. I'll just rebuild the city. Fucking bomb it. Like, bomb the whole... I'm not sending troops in here to search one building at a time. Just fucking bomb the whole thing.
This is why Warhammer 40K Total War wouldn't work, because as soon as you unlock Exterminatus and you're bored and you just don't want to fight them,
you'd be like,
fuck this.
Can I afford to repair this whole planet? Yeah, all right, fucking glass it. Like,
more like, do I need this planet in my giant 10,000 planet Imperium? No.
Yeah.
Kill them all. Like, honestly, dude, you would just pick a race you didn't want to fight and you would annihilate them, like the Necrons or the Tyranids. You'd be like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Exterminatus. Fuck you guys.
That couldn't be in the game.
Yeah, no way, dude.
Yeah.
That was in Gothic Armada, and it was always a cutscene thing. Yeah. And I was like, that's good, because I would use that all the time. Yeah. You guys don't even know. I wouldn't even be fighting on the planet. I would be fighting in space. And if they gave me the option to kill the planet underneath, I'd be like, fuck yeah, button. Like, why not? Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, do you got anything else for Dragon's Dogma?
I have a couple more things.
We don't have to stretch this video out any longer than it needs to be. I'm just saying, like, if once you're done with stuff to say, because I've played very little of it.
Things.
Okay, I've played very little.
It was the inventory. The way that items worked.
Yes.
That was bad. They were just bad.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure there weren't healing potions or something else.
Was there like a favorites or a hotkey for items?
Not that I remember. And I played on PC.
Either there wasn't one, or if there was, once again, the game told did not give you any indication on how to hotkey or favorite items. Because like I was saying with those lizard people, like my lantern would go dark, and I'd have to go
Yeah.
back into my main inventory, like not just like a quick bar, just my
Mm-mm.
main inventory, and select all this shit to get my lantern. I'd have to fill it with oil and then light it
No.
and put it back on my belt. And the game doesn't pause when you go to your inventory. So like I'm
No.
still just getting fucking murdered while I'm in there. So another bullshit
I'm
thing.
pretty sure that I went through the same thing. I'm pretty sure that I didn't. This is the overall theme of this. I want everybody to be very clear, is not that we were masters of this game and we figured out every mechanic and we still hated it. Our point is that we are normal people who play video games at a normal level, and we could not comprehend the premise or the controls of this game. This is a great example of that. We don't even know if there was a hotbar for things because there was never any form of indication that we were supposed to be doing that. And if there is, it wasn't just like open menu, keybinds or hotbar. There was fuck all. If there was a thing, it was deeply hidden.
I think my general point for this whole video on Dragon's Dogma is that clearly like you said, clearly we're not saying that like we thoroughly explored this game and like became experts of it and we still hate it. But that's not what you need. You don't need to do that. The criteria here for good or bad game is, did I like it, and am I still playing it? Would I recommend it? And the answer to all three of them is no. So it's like
Right.
people who want to, like, for me going, yeah, I played this game for like 2 hours and dropped it and I've never touched it since. People going, oh, well, you didn't give it enough of a chance. That's the point though. Like, doesn't that say something in and of itself? If I dropped it after only 2 hours, if that, does that not tell you right there that you did something fucking wrong with this game? Like,
Exactly.
do you want?
Think about this, man. I played all of Resident Evil 1,
Yeah.
the remake, all of it. And everybody who likes Resident Evil will say, it's a great game. But it is a relic of an older time. And they will not argue that point with you. Even the hardest core lovers of Resident Evil will go, you're right. This is a sort of relic of a different phase of these games.
Yeah.
The mechanics were bad. The concept of fixed camera angles was bad. It was hard as fucking shit to kill zombies. On easy difficulty, it could take up to 13 shots to kill a zombie. So just get that in there.
Yeah.
That was still an awesome game.
Yeah.
Because there was enough of it. There was enough reasons past some of the clunky mechanics to keep playing it. Dragon's Dogma didn't even do that correct. It couldn't even take
there's no charm
the parts
to
of it that
There's
were good.
No,
They couldn't highlight anything about itself to stand out to me.
Yeah.
It was just like anything that was good was immediately crushed under something much worse.
I've had many games that I'm kind of like, this game kind of irritates me, but there's something about it that like usually every once in a while it'll draw me. Neverwinter Nights, I can tell is going to be one of those. It's like I haven't touched that in like maybe like a month or two, but I can tell at some point, like I still have it installed, and in my head I'm kind of like, there was something about it that I liked, and I do want to go back to it. Dragon's Dogma, I'm never touching again. I have no desire, none. And like I was saying, like if your counter argument to what we're saying is, oh, you just didn't play it enough, is that the kind of game you were trying to make? A game where it's like, oh, dude, you got to get like 75% of the way through it, and then you'll enjoy it. It's like, no, I'm not going to waste all that time on something that I don't enjoy. Like, no.
Yeah. I would not do that to myself or recommend that to anyone.
That'd be like, it's like, dude, you got to try this TV show. It's awesome. By the way, first 5 out of the 8 seasons suck dick, but you got to get there, and then it's awesome. Like, I'm not watching that. Like,
no, fuck that. I'm not watching that many seasons of a show that sucks to get to the 3 that are good.
Yeah.
Fuck that. I have a game that I play that I like that I would not recommend to anyone else because I genuinely think it's a piece of shit. That game is Space Hulk Deathwing Enhanced Edition. Look, I know that there are going to be some people that are like, hey, fuck you, man, that game's awesome. No, it's not. It's not awesome. It's not awesome. Let me tell you why it's not awesome. Your sprint bar goes down this fast for running 10 feet. You walk this slow the whole time. Clunk, 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 clunk. And if you fight in a hallway this wide as a Terminator, and yet every single fucking monster that fights you could shred your ass into little tiny pieces. That game sucks big balls, but I love it because I love 40K. So just remember that if you're about to be like, you guys are wrong about Dragon's Dogma, you're like, do you think that, or do you just like the game and you want us to like it too? Because that's a different thing.
Yeah, dude, like tell me you're gonna play Dark Tide when it comes out.
Oh, 100%. I'm gonna play that
All
huge
right,
piece of shit.
Okay,
It's
listen.
gonna suck. Everyone's gonna complain about it, and I'm gonna play it.
Yeah, so am I. Dude, I'm tempted. Like, I don't know. I'd really want to get it on console, but like to play with you, I'd probably go ahead and just get it on this PC. It's not gonna run it that well. I can already tell. Like, it's this laptop. It'll run it, but it's not gonna run it well. Like,
Yeah.
well. But I mean, I might just bite the bullet and do it on the PC anyway. I can connect my Xbox controller to the PC and just, dude, we'll fucking kill some fucking enemies of mankind. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah. All right.
Kill the Underhive, fucking
Yeah.
mutants and shit. I love it.
Yeah.
Like if you played Vermintide at all, I played both of them, and oh man, I'm still mad. I'm still so mad about Vermintide 1 and 2. Like, just so everybody knows, they released Vermintide 1, and I bought it when it was in the alpha stages or the beta, whatever the fuck. And they were like, we're gonna add a ton more to this game. Spoiler alert, they didn't. They released a second game that they made me buy so that I could get the shit I bought in the first game. Didn't get it in the first game.
Yeah.
Spent $40 on that first one. But I wanted the stuff, so I got the second one. Second one legitimately was pretty good. So they fixed a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So this new one coming out, as
Dark
long as they
Tide.
just do what they did in the second one, give us skins for the characters. You know, give us weapons. We'll be
The
fine.
class variety looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I really want to play the guardsman with the las gun.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to go the weakest one I can play.
Whatever that dude was who's got the small power sword.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is he I wondered if there's like a commissar. I think he's a commissar.
Or maybe an inquisitor. I don't know, but anyway.
Or an inquisitor.
Yeah.
I hope it's a commissar though, because commissars are like, inquisitors are cool. They have like real power. Commissars don't. They have one
Their
piece
morale,
of power, and that's
yeah.
Yeah. The Russian guys who shot the troops off the boats in World War II. Those guys.
All right, man. Dragon's Dogma. Any closing shits you want to just put in this thing's mouth?
Don't play Dragon's Dogma unless you like being repeatedly penetrated by giant Hydra heads to the point that you feel like you might as well just go kill yourself.
Yeah.
If you feel like you're looking for a game that's going to inspire fun and make you want to play it, this is the equivalent of an acid enema. Like, don't. Like, it's not going to do anything good for you.
And even if you're a player who's like, oh, I live for the challenge of a game. Yeah, it is challenging, but it's challenging because it's unlike the Souls games. It's challenging because it's unfair. It's not tough.
You want to
fair,
challenge?
It's just straight up unfair.
Yeah. Play Code Vein if you've already played all the Dark Souls. Yeah, it's not a great game, but it actually has
Scratches
some heart.
That itch.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of soul. It's a little bit clunky, but it's got a little bit of heart to it. It's not a giant piece of shit. I would say it's a mediocre Souls game.
Yeah,
it's good.
Better than that Lords of the Fallen from back in the day. Is it? Dude, that was
way better
shit.
than that. That was a piece of shit. I hate that game.
That's gonna be our next shit.
That's our next one.
Yeah.
I played that one, by the way. Just so everyone knows, I'm way more versed in that one. I beat it multiple times. I tried really hard to give it a fair shake. I played all the builds you can play. I tried to play magic build. There's no magic build in that game. Whoever tells you there's a magic build in that game is so deeply full of shit that they're probably the god of the planet of shit. Like, that game was
it just had
joke.
Such a cool aesthetic, and that's what drew me to it. But then once you play
big armor, dude.
Yeah. All right, man. So yeah, Dragon's Dogma, not good. 2 middle fingers up.
2 thumbs down. 2 middle fingers up.
All right.
Fuck that game.
I'm gonna end the recording, but stick around if you want. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and then we can chat if you want for a little while longer.
Sounds good.
All right.